That character you stayed up until 4 a.m. watching? The one whose death made you call in sick to work? The villain you secretly rooted for even though you knew you shouldn't? Here's what nobody tells you. Carl Jung discovered that these obsessions aren't random. They're messages from the deepest part of your psyche, and the character you can't stop thinking about, they're showing you exactly who you are, or who you're desperately trying not to be. Stick around because I'm about to expose what you're desperately trying not to see about yourself using Jung's archetypes. Why Tony Stark makes you feel empty inside. Your creator archetype is screaming. Why Tyler Durden feels like the real you. Your rebel archetype wants out. And why Hermione Granger was your shield. Your sage archetype compensating. We're using Jungian psychology to reveal the uncomfortable truth about why certain characters feel like home. From the Joker's chaos to Cersei's ruthlessness, each character you love maps to one of Jung's archetypes, showing you exactly what you've been trained to hate about yourself. This isn't character analysis. This is Jungian shadow work you didn't sign up for. Picture this, early 20th century. Carl Jung, one of history's most influential psychologists, notices something extraordinary. His patients keep describing the same symbolic patterns in their dreams. A wise old man, a dark shadow figure, a nurturing mother. These weren't people they knew. They were universal patterns buried in what Jung called the collective unconscious. Basically, shared psychological structures we all inherit. He called them archetypes, and here's where it gets fascinating. Jung first coined the term archetypes in his 1919 essay, Instinct and the Unconscious. He believed these patterns emerge from evolutionary history. They're like psychological instincts that shape how we understand the world. Think of archetypes as psychological blueprints or templates that shape how humans naturally understand and respond to the world. Jung proposed that just as we inherit physical traits through evolution, we also inherit psychological patterns. These aren't learned behaviors, but innate structures that influence how we perceive roles, relationships, and life situations. For example, across cultures and throughout history, humans have consistently created stories about the hero's journey or the wise mentor. Not because they copied each other, but because these patterns resonate with something fundamental in human psychology. Jung identified several core archetypes. The shadow represents the repressed, denied, or undeveloped aspects of the personality, often the parts of ourselves we'd rather not acknowledge, the Anima or Animus. Jung believed everyone has both masculine and feminine psychological qualities, regardless of their biological sex. So a man has a feminine side, Anima, and a woman has a masculine side, Animus. The Anima is the feminine side in men. Intuition, emotion, creativity, the unconscious. The Animus is the masculine side in women. Logic, assertiveness, focus, analysis. Jung believed psychological health comes from integrating these opposite qualities rather than repressing them. A man who only develops logic and assertiveness while ignoring intuition and emotion becomes psychologically lopsided. Same for women. Here's where it gets personal. You project your Anima or Animus onto others, falling in love with people who embody the qualities you haven't developed in yourself. Those intense attractions that feel fated? You're actually being drawn to complete yourself. True psychological maturity means becoming a whole person who can access both logical analysis and emotional intelligence, both assertiveness and receptivity, both structure and creativity. It's about becoming psychologically complete within yourself rather than needing others to provide what you're missing. The self. This is Jung's term for your true or whole self, not just your conscious thoughts and personality, but the integration of everything about you, including the unconscious parts you're not aware of. Think of it as the difference between who you think you are versus who you actually are when all parts of your psyche work together harmoniously. The persona is the mask we wear in social situations, how we present ourselves to the world versus who we really are. While Jung himself identified key archetypes like the shadow, Anima, Animus, and self, the 12 archetype system we'll explore today was actually developed by Dr. Carol Pearson in the 1980s and 90s, building on Jung's foundational work. Think you're just watching Netflix? You're actually performing surgery on your own soul. Every character that makes your heart race, every fictional death that ruins your week, every plot twist that feels like personal betrayal. None of it is random. Your brain doesn't distinguish between fictional relationships and real ones. That's why you cry when characters die. That's why you argue about them as like they're family. Scientists call these parasocial relationships, emotional bonds with people who can't love you back. But here's what they don't tell you. These aren't just connections. They're mirrors. Every character obsession is your psyche screaming, "This is who you are. This is who you're becoming." Your unconscious mind is using fiction to teach you about yourself. That character you can't stop thinking about? They're not entertainment. They're a blueprint for your next evolution. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The characters that grip you most violently, especially the villains, they're showing you the parts of yourself you've been trained to hate. Jung called it the shadow. Everything you buried to be acceptable. Your rage, your hunger for power, your capacity for destruction. Society made you bury these parts so deep, you forgot they existed. But they're still there, pulsing beneath your politeness. Why do you think millions are obsessed with serial killer documentaries? With morally gray anti-heroes? With villains who burn the world down? Because there's a part of you that wants to stop pretending, to stop being so goddamn nice all the time. That villain you love to hate, that's you without your mask. And recognizing that shadow doesn't make you evil, it makes you human. If Frodo's unwavering hope, Forrest Gump's simple wisdom, Wall-E's pure love, or SpongeBob's relentless optimism make you ugly cry, your soul is starving for purity in a corrupt world. You obsess over these characters when cynicism is eating you alive, when you've been betrayed one too many times, when the news makes you want to hide under your covers forever. The shocking truth, you're not drawn to innocence because you lack it. You're drawn to it because you're protecting something sacred inside yourself that refuses to be corrupted. Everyone calls you naive, but you know something they don't. That goodness isn't stupidity, it's rebellion. If Jim Halpert's authenticity, Peter Parker's relatability, or Eleanor Shellstrop's messy humanity speak to your soul, you're tired of performing a version of yourself that isn't real. This archetype calls to you when you're suffocating under expectations, when you're the only one at the party who feels like an imposter, when you want to scream, "Can someone please just be real?" The shocking truth, your ordinariness is your superpower. While everyone else is wearing masks, you're seeking authentic connection. You believe the most extraordinary thing isn't being special, it's being genuinely yourself. Can't get enough of Luke Skywalker's journey, Harry Potter's courage, or Katniss Everdeen's defiance? You're rehearsing for your own transformation from nobody to somebody. This hits hardest during life transitions, new jobs, breakups, when you feel invisible and underestimated, when there's a voice inside you whispering, "You're capable of more than this." The shocking truth, you're not escaping your ordinary life through these stories. You're preparing to destroy it. There's a version of you waiting to emerge, one that's brave, powerful, and refuses to stay small. Obsessed with Samwise Gamgee's loyalty, Molly Weasley's fierce protection, Uncle Iroh's gentle wisdom, or Ted Lasso's radical kindness, you've discovered that care is the most radical form of power. This archetype emerges when others desperately need you, when you're becoming a parent figure, or when you're healing from receiving terrible care yourself. The shocking truth, you don't help others because you're weak. You help because you understand something most people don't, that in a world designed to make us selfish, compassion is an act of revolution. But be careful. Your strength through service might be slowly killing you. Can't resist Indiana Jones's adventures, Arya Stark's wandering, or Doctor Who's endless curiosity? Your soul is suffocating in a cage you built yourself. This hits when your life feels like Groundhog Day, when responsibilities feel like chains, when you look around and think, is this it? Is this all there is? The shocking truth, you're not just craving physical adventure. You're craving the death of who you used to be. Every exploration story is about the same thing, leaving your old self behind and becoming someone unrecognizable. Love Tyler Durden's chaos, V's revolution, Harley Quinn's madness, or Wolverine's refusal to conform. You're done playing by rules that were designed to keep you small. This archetype possesses you when authority feels corrupt, when you're tired of being polite while the world burns, when you want to scream, "The Emperor has no clothes." The shocking truth: you're not drawn to chaos for its own sake. You're drawn to the promise of destruction that leads to creation. Part of you wants to burn your entire life down and rebuild something real from the ashes. Obsessed with Romeo and Juliet's passion, Jim and Pam's tenderness, or Gomez and Morticia's devotion? You're learning the terrifying art of being vulnerable. This hits hardest when you're lonely, when you're in love, when you're questioning whether you're capable of the kind of connection that changes everything. The shocking truth: you're not just seeking romance. You're seeking the courage to be completely seen by another human being. You know that real love isn't pretty. It's the willingness to be destroyed and rebuilt by another person. Inspired by Tony Stark's inventions, Willy Wonka's wonder, Elsa's power, or Dr. Frankenstein's ambition, you're suffocating under the weight of your own unexpressed genius. This archetype calls when you have visions you can't articulate, when you feel creatively constipated, when there's something inside you screaming to be born. The shocking truth: you don't want to create something. You want to create everything. You understand that the line between genius and madness isn't a line at all. It's the price of admission to true creation. The Jester. Drawn to Deadpool's chaos, Tyrion Lannister's wit, or the Joker's anarchy? You're using humor as a weapon against a world that hurt you. This hits when life feels unbearably serious, when trauma is eating you alive, but everyone expects you to keep smiling, when traditional coping mechanisms feel like lies. The shocking truth: your humor isn't escape, it's warfare. You understand that laughter can tear down systems that took centuries to build. You're not the comic relief. You're the revolution in disguise. The Sage. Captivated by Dumbledore's wisdom, Yoda's guidance, Gandalf's foresight, or the Oracle's visions? Your unconscious is preparing you for the loneliest job in the world: being the one with answers. This emerges when you're accumulating hard-won wisdom, when younger people seek your guidance, when you realize you've become the adult in the room. The shocking truth: you're not seeking wisdom, you're accepting the terrible responsibility of having it. You understand that knowledge is a burden, and true wisdom is knowing how much you don't know. The Magician. Obsessed with Doctor Strange's sorcery, Morpheus's revelations, Hermione's brilliance, or the White Witch's power, you're realizing the world is far more malleable than anyone ever told you. This calls when you want to change your life completely, when you're discovering abilities you didn't know you had, when reality starts feeling like a construct you can manipulate. The shocking truth: you don't want magic powers. You want to stop being a victim of circumstances. You're realizing that perception shapes reality, and you have more power than you ever imagined. The Ruler. Fascinated by Cersei Lannister's ruthlessness, Nick Fury's authority, or Thomas Shelby's command? You're ready to stop asking permission for your own life. This hits when you're gaining real authority, when you feel powerless and hated, when you're tired of other people making decisions that affect you. The shocking truth: you don't want power over others. You want power over yourself. You understand that leadership isn't about control. It's about accepting that the buck stops with you, and that's terrifying. Here's Jung's most disturbing insight: you're not just one archetype. You're all of them, cycling through like seasons in your soul. The character you're obsessed with right now, they're showing you which part of yourself is trying to be born. The ones you hate, those are the parts you're afraid to face. The ones that make you uncomfortable, you're not ready for that lesson yet. This is why certain shows hit different at different times. Why you suddenly relate to characters you used to despise. Why rewatching something years later feels like meeting a stranger who shares your face. You're not consuming entertainment. You're watching your own psychological evolution in real time. Every story you've ever loved is the same story. Your story. Your Netflix history isn't random. It's a psychological roadmap of your evolution. Every character you've obsessed over is a breadcrumb leading you back to yourself. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every fictional character becomes a mirror. Every story becomes a prophecy about who you're becoming. So next time you can't stop thinking about a character, don't dismiss it as entertainment. Ask yourself, what part of me are they reflecting? What are they trying to teach me about who I'm becoming? Because that character you're obsessed with, they're not just fiction. They're you, wearing a different face, showing you your next evolution. The question isn't which character you love. The question is, which version of yourself are you ready to become? Let's play a game. Drop it in the comments. I bet others will be able to guess which character you can't stop watching.